The Academy Hall Museum was originally the Center District Schoolhouse and was built in 1803. Was paid for in part by a tax on the property of the district and partly by a private subscription or by the sale of shares in it. Mr. Abraham Jagger, the building contractor, took for a part of his pay the subscriptions or shares of stock made by individuals for the erection. Many of these were never paid up and the job ruined him financially. The second story had an arched ceiling and there were large fireplaces in both stories, the chimney being in the southwest end. Known as Academy Hall, the upper floor had a very good reputation as higher mathematics and navigation were taught. In the first quarter of the century, young men of the town learned the science of navigation and fitted themselves to become captains of the coasters and seagoing vessels out of the Connecticut River. Foreign languages and practical arts were also learned firsthand. Rocky Hill was once head of navigation on the Connecticut River and a major port and shipbuilding center during the days of ships and sails. The museum has featured exhibits of medical instruments, writings, and other items of two Rocky Hill physicians, Dr. Rufus Griswold and Dr. Frank Burr, and a pair of snowshoes used by Dr. Orrin Mosier on winter calls. Lighting devices from antiquity to the present, an audio exhibit of phonographs and radios, old tools, books, maritime instruments, old wedding gowns and dresses, and doll collections have been on display at various times. Demonstrations of quilting and spinning, as well as weaving, have been given. The Sigmund Adler Book Award is presented each year since 1966 to a student in the junior high and in the senior high for outstanding essays on subjects in the social studies field. The first public meeting to launch a Rocky Hill Historical Society was held in the basement of the town hall on June 14, 1962. The society had its inception at the historical committee of the Friends of the Cora J. Belden Library. After considerable study of the Danforth House and Legion Hall, the site committee recommended that the latter be acquired at the Society's museum. This building had deteriorated to such an extent that the selectmen were going to have it demolished if no group intended to use it. Many townspeople were present at the first meeting as they did not want to see the old schoolhouse torn down. The cost of making a building into a suitable museum was estimated at about $9,500, including removal of wooden additions, new stairs, toilet facilities, and a new heating system. In August 1963, the selectmen voted to lease the hall to the society for a token payment of $1 a year for 25 years, with option to renew it at the end of that period. To assume cost of heat, electricity, water, and to carry the necessary insurance, and to assume care of the grounds. The society to put the building exterior in suitable condition within 3 years. The Rocky Hill Garden Club gave $1,000 toward the restoration, and the Wethersfield Rocky Hill Post contributed $1 of each new Rocky Hill subscription for 2 months. On October 22nd, 1967, the Academy Hall Museum had its official opening and a membership of 207. A Junior Historical Society Club was organized in July 1968. The club sponsored an exhibit of old toys and games during the Christmas holidays. The members prepared a diorama of various types of transportation used in town during the past years, being enrolled in the National Register of Historical Places. Placement in the register guarantees that the Academy will be protected against encroachment from federally funded projects and enables the town to apply for matching grant assistance from the National Parks Service for preservation and restoration of structure. The museum is open Sunday afternoons, May through November, from 3 to 5 p.m. and by appointment. Rocky Hill, a brief history. Rocky Hill was incorporated as a town in 1843 and had been a part of Wethersfield, which was settled in 1634. Building here began in 1650, but the village has had several names: the Lower Community, Lexington, Stepney Parish, and finally Rocky Hill. The hill after which the town is named is that east of Old Main Street. The town has been principally a farming community, but shipping and shipbuilding along the Connecticut River at Stepney Landing were major activities for over a century. Industry, including metalworking and quarrying and commerce, have also been means of livelihood in the town. In this century, Rocky Hill has become a residential community, but has also retained its agricultural, industrial, and commercial character. The sesquicentennial displays will be featured through 1993, but will change each year. Come again to enjoy our museum.
On the upper floor of this building, known as Academy Hall, navigation, higher mathematics, foreign language, and the laws of the sea were taught. At that time, it was 40 years before Rocky Hill separated from Wethersfield. As head of navigation on the Connecticut River, it was a major port and shipbuilding center. The courses and practical arts taught in this building, such as the use of the sextant, the log, and other instruments displayed in this case, would have fitted the men and boys of the town to be the sailors and captains of the coasters and seagoing schooners. Ships depicted in these pictures bring to mind the types of vessels on which graduates might have sailed. The commercial fleet trading with the West Indies, Africa, and Spain, as well as coastal shipping, all departed from our town landing. Neighboring towns of Berlin and Farmington would send their wares to be shipped out. Salt beef, salt pork, lumber, horses, pipe staves, onions, and dried corn would be sent to the West Indies and traded for a return load of rum, molasses, salt, and sugar. Besides the several shipbuilders located on the banks of the river in Rocky Hill, there were shipping-related industries, including a rope walk and a bakery for the making of sea biscuits, a staple of the sailors' diet. Many ships were built in town. Among them was the Neptune, the first American ship that made the voyage around the world with Captain John Hurlbut as master. The schooner Seaflower was captured in Barbados by the French in 1799. Silas Deane, the first naval commissioner ever appointed by Congress, had the sloop Revenge built here in 1776. Our shipping heritage continues to this day in our museum, as well as on the Connecticut River at our town's eastern border. Activities now include the Ferry Park Festival, recreational boating, of course the continuous ferry service crossing between Rocky Hill and Glastonbury, and the fishing that has always been a part of our heritage. There is a somewhat different emphasis compared to 1803, but still related to our recognition as a major port on the Connecticut River.
Here's the Historical Society's Remembering Rocky Hill board. The photos are from my personal collection and the Historical Society's collection. The board was generously designed and donated by the John Oldham Studios in Wethersfield, who also put it up. Basically what the board shows is areas of Rocky Hill as they were and what that same area looks like now. On the left shows the ferry getting ready to dock on the Rocky Hill side in the late 1890s or very early 1900s. It shows the ferry getting an example, and for some reason a popular one is the Solestein Highway just north of Marshall Road as it appeared on Sunday, May 26, 1991. Notice there is no Bigfords, no Water Chase Drive, no Route 91, no nothing on the 1946 photo. On the board are scheduled to be changed periodically. I urge you to come down and look at the board and any of the fine displays in the museum. If you're a longtime resident, come down to the museum and share your memories of Rocky Hill, good or bad. If you are a new resident of Rocky Hill, come down to the museum and get acquainted with the old Rocky Hill. Also, if you have photos, movies, slides, videotapes, paintings, or prints of Rocky Hill you no longer want and wish to donate or loan to the Historical Society, call 563-6704 and leave a message on the machine, or stop down at the museum at 785 Old Main Street on Tuesdays between 10 a.m. and 1 p.m., or on Sundays between 3 and 5 p.m. If you can't make it down and have something to donate, arrangements can be made to pick them up. Rocky Hill, like any other city and town in Connecticut, has an interesting and significant past. We've tried to capture some...
This is a general view of the Rocky Hill Museum. We have individual rooms, we have individual cases, and we have individual displays of interest of the history of Rocky Hill's past. We urge all of you to visit here whenever an opportunity presents itself.
The year 1843, the house sewing machine was invented. Typewriter pioneered by Charles Thurber. London Museum director designed and sent out the first Christmas card. Among those born this year, William McKinley, 25th U.S. President, Henry James, Edvard Grieg, died this year, Noah Webster, John Trumbull, U.S. painter. In the 1843 room, we have furniture and objects in homes in Rocky Hill and others representative of these times. For instance, we have a very nice leather trunk owned and used by Allen W. Miller of Middletown, Connecticut, who married Emmeline Smith of Rocky Hill, April 14, 1830. Their home was on the site of the Prestige Apartments, Main Street, Rocky Hill. This corner cupboard, 1750 or earlier, was originally from the Buckley Wilcox house, located on Lower Dividend Road area of Stepney Parish, Rocky Hill. Probably it was always painted white until restored and moved to the Ruth Wilcox home, Old Main Street. The occupants of the home through 2 centuries from 1750 to 1964 made many changes. The cupboard and most of the present contents were bequeathed to the Rocky Hill Historical Society by Ruth Wilcox in 1984, and other items belonged to town families, the Wilcoxes, the Merriams, Robbins, and Pasco. A couple of examples. On the top shelf is a flip glass with a toddy stick. And the research revealed that flip was originally a liquor much used aboard ships by mixing together beer, spirits, and sugar. But this was probably used for warming and spicing ale with brandy and eggs added, and a mixture was poured from one cup to another till it frothed and creamed, and then it was poured back into the original flip glass where it was reheated. And from the New England Almanac of 1704 comes this little poem. The days are short, the weather's cold, by tavern fires tales are told. Some ask for dram when first come in, others for flip and bounce. On this shelf is a Lowestoft teapot with decorative lychee nut on top, and also the donators gave us the real lychee nut. This was used by the Merriam family in 1800. The name Oriental Lowestoft is based on an error because in the early days of antique china collecting, East India china became confused with the output of a small pottery in Lowestoft, England. This is a very beautiful lace maker's lamp, pre-1820, donated from the collection of Harry Sampson. But this name, too, is a misnomer for this lamp because it's too fragile, too impractical for lace making. This is a blown glass lamp with globular reservoir 2 to 3 inches in diameter, using a drop burner with round drip catcher below, set upon stem and saucer base. This early blanket chest stores several quilts from our own collection. Hung above the chest is a reproduction of the convex Federalist mirror, popular at this time. The fireplace mantel is from the Griswold homestead, Rocky Hill, built in 1843. This little broom, made in Sturbridge, is an example of those made in New England states. Every boy knew how to make Indian brooms from birch trees, and girls could whittle as well as boys. Reading an account from Adam Stiles' Volume 1 History about broom making in Rocky Hill. Broom making has been carried on in winters lately by Talcott A. Arnold in a shop near his residence, east side of Hartford Avenue. During summers, he's a ship caulker. And before him, Squire Bill, who was William Robbins II, made brooms at his home next north of the Rocky Hill Hotel property. Alfred Bailey was another who made brooms. Output of brooms in Rocky Hill in 1845 was 5,500, as broom corn was formerly largely raised in this section. And this bundle of broom corn was grown in Rocky Hill, and it was from the Wright home. I'd like now to say that, as well as members already mentioned, we are grateful to the following who generously donated or loaned items for this room: Mrs. Elizabeth Griswold, Mrs. Ethel Cook, Mrs. Patricia Batterson, the Wormke family, Mr. and Mrs. Leon Foster, Mrs. Clinton, Mrs. Ruby Bennett, Mrs. Harry Sampson, Mrs. Frank Amadon, Mr. Thomas Schreier, and Mrs. Jackie Jacobs. Thank you.
Our 1843 room displays the 8th American flag design of 26 stars during the presidency of John Tyler. The 1893 room displays the 22nd design with 44 stars under the presidency of Grover S. Cleveland.
As we enter our parlor, furnished with some very interesting pieces, we find a family dressed, ready to start out to attend the inauguration of President-elect Grover Cleveland. It is Saturday, March 4th, 1893. The stuffed cat, flown by Doris Schreier, looks on with feline curiosity as the father mannequin tries to hurry the others along. He is dressed in a dark suit with matching color, high-button shoes, purchased from the Rocky Hill Congregational Church. His top hat, made of beaver skins, and his umbrella by his side, prepares him for the day's long event. The cabinet organ, made by Mason and Hamlin of Boston, Mass., circa 1875, is a gift from Shirley Belden. On the wall above the organ is a oil on wood, butterfly and pansies, SBB 1891. On the organ sits a Marzell metronome gift of Peter Revel, an instrument which beats musical time by means of a short inverted pendulum, circa 1875. The sheet music, copyright 1894, E.T. Pauls, is titled Ben-Hur's Chariot Race March. Compositions and arrangements on loan from Doris Schreier. The organ bench with a needlepoint cover was used by Lillian Yarrington, a gift of her son, Reverend Richard Yarrington. The spool-turned table holding the plant, which sits in a white porcelain tureen with colors of blue and gold, takes its name from its resemblance to a series of spools placed end to end, on loan from C.L. Sampson. The drop-top desk on the back wall belonged to Mr. F. Griswold's grandmother, Mrs. A.D. Griswold. The dark mahogany cottage clock sitting on top of the desk is circa 1875. Over the desk hangs Harvest, a Prang's American chromo. Back chair, simplified by omission of ornaments, was owned and used by Dr. Hotchkiss, a gift from Harry Spencer. A gift to the museum by Mrs. Florence Hale is the display wall cabinet of mahogany with convex and serpentine glass. Inside the cabinet on the top shelf, a bone china bedroom wash bowl with blue and orange motif, a gift of Mrs. Arthur Wormke. The small English dish of white and orange design was found in the ground of the old Kelly Place, 1956. The house was moved there in 1863, a gift of Ethel Bacon. The picture over the cabinet, the cross, and all the pictures in the room are on loan courtesy of Thomas Schreier. Sitting on a chair made by Sigmund Adler, a former teacher in the Rocky Hills school system, is the little girl dressed in baby blue, velveteen cape and matching bonnet, made by Marion Hale, fashioned after an original copy by Emmeline S. Miller. The pink dress trimmed with gimp, which is a chemisette worn under a pinafore or jumper with lace. The dress was worn by Edith Foster as a child, with a silver button hook engraved ETC, a gift of Mrs. Arthur Warmke. She waits for an assist from her mom or dad to button her high-button brown kid shoes. The doll was donated by Cindy Ryan Gabriel. The center of the room is a marble top table, a gift from Mrs. Frank Anadon. Holds an 1891 phonoharp, a zither-like musical instrument easy to play. It was owned and played by Mrs. Chester Starr's grandmother 100 years ago. She may have used a leather quill or leather points on the wire string keyboard. The carpet bag next to the marble table, made of various descriptions, was used to transport one's personal possessions, things necessary for comfort and happiness. Some of the items showing in our carpet bag: a black cashmere knitted stole worn by Mrs. J.B. Porter, a gift of the Rhodes family, a handmade petticoat and slip, part of a wedding trousseau of Mrs. James A. Wolcott, née Fanny Marion. A gift of Mrs. Margaret Hugh is the chemise bloomers. The mother is dressed in the latest style of the day, her hat ivory in color, trimmed with ostrich plume and a veil. Her beige dress with the bustle worn on the back part of the body to fill out the figure is filled with hay or hair. The long leather gloves, her brown kid high-button shoes, a gift of Mrs. Robert Hunter, and the matching parasol completes her outfit. The rug that covers the 1893 room is a Griffin rug, hand machined, patented 1881 to 1886, purchased from the Rocky Hill Methodist Church.
Our 1943 room displays the 25th design of 48 stars with President Franklin D. Roosevelt and Harry S. Truman. Okay. 1943, the year of pride and sadness. Many men and women were called to serve in the Navy, Army, and Marines. The families were very proud of what the young people were doing to protect our country. When someone was in the service, a service star put in the window. This one was donated by Orest Rigoletti. The sadness was having some of our loved ones killed in the war. Rocky Hill lost 7 good men in World War II, including 2 brothers, Frank and Horace Benino, Ellis Beck, Armand Sheffron, Richard Dexter, Albert Goss, Henry Maxim. There were also Rocky Hill women who served as nurses, wax, waves, and so forth. Mary Renat, age 22, joined the waves 15 days after becoming a natural citizen. Appliances and furniture were in short supply as factories were making war materials. Therefore, the home were not of the latest. Most rummaged in their mothers' and grandmother's attic to make do to furnish a comfortable home. You'll notice the red kitchen clock in the china cabinet. The trend at this time period was to have a red kitchen. The dishes in the cabinet were also the type of wedding presents given. Friday night was dish night at the movies. For 25 cents, you saw a newsreel, carton, and movies. Plus, you received a plate, glass, or cup. Each week, it was a different piece to collect your set of dishes. A lot of these red glass are now on the antique. On Saturday nights, the rug was rolled up and everyone danced to the old Victrola or record player. The old radio gave us news of the war and programs like Amos and Andy and The Shadow. Because of the shortage of men, women became necessary to help out in factories and businesses. Many adjustments had to be made on the home front. Ration coupons were issued for gas, meat, sugar, and so forth. They made do with what was available. No eggs, there was a recipe for tomato soup cake. No apples, Ritz cracker pies that you believe contained apples. In 1943, the town had a small population of 2,679. The center of activity, Congregation Church and Methodist Church, were at each end of Church Street, as they are now. St. James had a mission church on Chapin Avenue. A small one-stall fire station was on Church Street, now a storage place. The Carl Belden Library was a very small red building across from Congregational Church, only open Tuesday and Fridays, 2:30 to 4:30, and 7 to 8 p.m. Also on Church Street was Brown's Variety Store, which sold everything from ice cream to small appliances, now a print shop. On Main Street was Vincetti's Penny Candy and Clothing. Also where the card shop is was Man's Meat Market. Down on the corner of Main Street and Glastonbury Avenue also were Nevico's and Nycre's drugstore. Further down was Grasso Brothers grocery store. The Federal Public Housing Authority, then under the direction of Weathersfield Housing Authority Advisory Committee, appointed by Rocky Hill Board of Selectmen, built single and duplex homes known as Drum Hill Project for 125 families of service people. These were rented at a low cost and afterwards were sold to the families. There was no mail delivery until February 25, 1944. The town took pride and supported our troops by participating in a record drive by the Girl Scouts and Campilio Homes. They collected about 200 records to send to entertain the servicemen. William Berkeley, leader of West End Junior Farmers, had a sound truck playing Out of the Night. School clothes for a scrap drive, metal, newspapers, magazines, tin cans, and so forth, which 8,600 pounds were collected. There was also a cigarette drive which netted $135 to send cigarettes to the servicemen. War stamps were sold in the schools, which netted $563.55. On December 8th, the Minuteman flag flew for the sale of war stamps to purchase 6 parachutes and aiming for an amphibious jeep at $2,090. The town bond drive was $42,560, only $2,000 short of the projected goal. These figures may seem small to us now, but don't forget, the pay scale was very low, $11 to $50 a week average, as were rents, $50 to $100 a month. Another sadness during these war years was the Hartford Circus fire. About 165 people died. From Rocky Hill, Mrs. Dorothy Matthews and her 5-year-old daughter lost their lives. Mail to and from servicemen and families gave a new concept of the world. It brought people closer together to live and work in harmony.
Flanked by a United States Navy and a United States Army uniform worn during World War II, this showcase in a small way honors our Rocky Hill servicemen and women. Design of the American flag with 48 stars carried during World War I and World War II. The 27th design with 50 stars was carried from the Vietnam War through the Persian Gulf. Later, Humphreys and I are compiling the names of Rocky Hill men and women who served our country during World War I, World War II, Korea, Vietnam, and the Persian Gulf. Our list of World War I veterans is copied from the stone memorial plaque located in Rocky Hill Center Green. A search through the library here at Academy Hall Museum produced a copy of World War II local veterans listed in the annual town report of August 31, 1945, to whom the book was dedicated. Also in the showcase is a report on the aircraft warning service in effect from late 1941 to 1944. We found an old bulletin board and logbooks kept by the local volunteers, and so now we have a record of those at home who helped to keep the country free from any further surprise aerial attacks. Much more research was necessary for Korea and Vietnam, so we began with visits to our town hall and the Cora J. Belden Library with no results. We called the Veterans of Foreign Wars, American Legion, Rocky Hill Veterans Home, the Department of Veterans Affairs, the American Veterans, and so forth. Most showed a keen interest in what we are trying to do, but could supply nothing except more telephone numbers. However, many did mention they would like to have a copy of our lists when and if we complete them. Our town clerk, Marion Palmer, has produced several heavy volumes of honorable discharge papers, and later and I spend much time at the town hall looking through these books for servicemen and women who, at the time of their enlistment for Korea and Vietnam, resided in Rocky Hill. Because so many veterans have moved to and are now living here after their discharge from the service, we must carefully study all papers to complete this report. We have written to our state representative, Barbara B. Kennelly, asking for any help she might provide regarding our problem. There must be a department somewhere with such information available, and if not, why not? Later, and I feel that every town should have a record of their veterans, keep it up to date, and file it for safekeeping somewhere in their community. These men and women sacrificed years and many their lives for us. Paper and pencil are provided on the showcase, and we ask our visitors to please help by adding the names of loved ones who served during these wars, who were residing in Rocky Hill at the time of their enlistment, and who are not already included here. Thank you.
There are many other phases of Rocky Hill history depicted in the museum, from the archaeology of our early Indian residents, of the late Archaic period through woodland and up to historic times. These are some of the implements used in the farm community, which was the major industry for many years before our recent commercialization.
This section of the museum is called Technology Revisited, and it's a display of some of the mechanical, optical, electrical, and similar inventions which have served in the rapidly changing world of the last 100 or more years. The diversity alone illustrates a wide range of technical applications evident in everyday life, be it the simple mechanics of a yarn winder or the electrical complexity of a radio winder. With a counter on it. When the worm gear turns, when the reel is spun, this wheel turns and acts as a counter. And when it has gone around a whole revolution, that represents about 80 yards of yarn wound up on the reel. An early 3D viewer. Do you remember the 3D movies? Well, this is a stereographoscope. And the way it works is this. These pictures were taken with a double-lens camera. And when you look through the eyepieces here, you get the effect of actually standing where the camera was. In other words, you get the impression of depth. The graphoscope part, which I can't show you, actually is a huge magnifying glass underneath. And the purpose was to look at pictures in detail. And I think this was at the time before photo enlargements were available. Radio section. You see there 3 radios of varying ages. The little one on the left there is RCA radiola made in 1924. And the one down below is a 1925 Splitdorf. I think the interesting thing about these is that they used to have an entourage of wires and batteries and external antennas, so really quite took a lot of space on a table. The upper one here, the Detrola, shows a tremendous change in about 15 years of radio making. It plugs into the house current, has an internal loudspeaker, and an internal antenna too. What's also interesting is the small amount of controls on it compared with the older machines. Of some interest is that the present day radios seem to require a lot more knobs than that simple Detrola of 1939. Magic lantern. It's about 90 years old and has a kerosene lamp. This junior model projects very small dim pictures on a wall, about 1 to 2 feet in diameter. Sears sold this type in 1902 for about $1. And with it you got admission tickets to sell to your friends to come and see the show.
Columbia Orchestra.
That is a recording of a cylinder that goes with this Edison graphophone. This was made in about 1897 using coarse wax cylinder records. Here again, Sears Roebuck sold this type of machine and issued advertising posters and admission tickets to sell to one's friends. This is called a combi camera. It's a miniature box camera with a roll film, and it could be also used for viewing pictures. It's got a magnifying glass in it. This particular camera was used in the 1893 Columbian Exposition in Chicago, and is a wonder of miniaturization for the time it was made. This is a more recent sort of gadget, belonged to some of our children. It's a mechanical bank and obviously a space-age device. It says an XU-232 rocket shoots a coin into the moon, and we'll try that. There, probably the safest place to put your money is in the moon. Right, we have a little print shop here. Printer Bob Tangarone gave this unit, including a lot of the type, and we are hoping to produce our new membership cards on this machine. This is
The Ethel Minor Cook Historical Library is named for our librarian who has taken this project from zero to where it is today, and you will be seeing that in a few moments.
Society began as a historical committee of the first Friends of the Cora J. Belden Library. And from it, it developed, as I say, into the Historical Society when the Legion Hall was going to be taken down. And enough people attended a special meeting, there must have been 200 or more, to save the library. So it ended up by the town continuing the ownership, providing that we would restore the building to a usable condition.
And I think something like $9,000, I think, we raised to spend on making this our library. And we do considerable research, get inquiries from people out of state whose ancestors are buried or lived here. We have quite a group of books on, we're especially interested in Rocky Hill history, so that our books are mainly of that type. We do have some United States history of various years, and we have a few books that were written by authors in this area. We do cataloging, a lot of typing for the catalog cards. We have a number of manuscripts, which is material in the original in handwriting. We have the charter, a copy of the first, the separation of Rocky Hill in 1843 from Wethersfield as a separate town. We have books on also on glassware, tinware, architecture, which all sort of comes into the many things that the recorders have in their collections in the library. I'm fortunate to have had quite a bit of assistance in the library, which I can use. And there's always, I never get caught up. We also have magazines. We have some old newspapers which are listed according to a particular item. So it isn't too hard to find things when you need to. We have we used to have special exhibits in the schools, but I think that was mainly when Miss Ruth Wilcox was a great part of this museum. We also have a picture collection, and that has an index, and our manuscript material has a special index. And we have accession sheets so that we know who is given it. Our accession books gives each article received a number, a certain number. And so that is recorded in either the manuscript or the general catalog, so that we hope that we are able to find material when we get requests for it from outsiders or what are the workers in the museum. Our top shelf has Connecticut registers and manuals, which gives information about the different towns, population, and so on and so forth. As I said, we have quite a few requests for genealogy. We do have several family genealogies that have been given to us. And we do have the census records for Rocky Hill through 1850, 60, and 70. We have some tax records. We have cemetery records from the State Library, and also Tillotson's cemetery records of Wethersfield, Rocky Hill, and Newington. And we have quite a bit on literature too, and we have quite a collection of children's books, the old grammars, the readers, storybooks, algebra, and so we really do have a pretty good collection of.
Grace Cohn, president of the Rocky Hill Historical Society, extends an invitation to anyone interested in the history of Rocky Hill to visit this museum, to do research in our Ethel Minor Cook Historical Library, to contribute any information to our records or material, items or photos to our exhibits, or to join the society which is headquartered here at Academy Hall, 758 Old Main Street, Rocky Hill. The public is most welcome to attend any of the Historical Society meetings or special events which are held throughout the year. The museum is manned by volunteers and is open May through December on Sunday afternoons from 3 to 5. At other times, volunteers are quite often working on Tuesday mornings, and visits can be arranged for individuals or groups then or at other times by calling the Historical Society phone 563-6704. The Rocky Hill Academy Hall Museum is not only a collection of the history of Rocky Hill, but a monument to the dedicated people who worked diligently toward the official opening October 22nd, 1967, and are still exerting maximum effort to continue to bring to the public the historic past of Rocky Hill. To all of them, our eternal thank you.